This is the Fox 5 News Block.
We're following two major breaking stories. Setback for the Pope. The Vatican says the 88-year-old pontiff suffered what's called a bronchial spasm, and major drama at the White House. Tensions reach a boiling point during President Trump's meeting with Ukrainian President Zelenskyy. Good afternoon. I'm Duarte Geraldino. Welcome to the News Block. The Oval Office is often known as a somber place for diplomacy, but today it was anything but that. Let's get down to the newsroom where Sharon Crowley has been monitoring the situation and has more on what turned out to be quite a day at the White House. Sharon, what can you tell us?
Duarte, a lot of fireworks, to say the least. The ramifications of this Oval Office blow-up are being felt around the world, and there are now fears it could tank a potential peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy arriving at the White House earlier today for a private meeting. It's when President Trump and President Zelenskyy met for a joint appearance in front of the media in the Oval Office that things got heated. The vice president accusing Zelenskyy of not showing enough gratitude toward the U.S. for all the support this country has provided. Now, Zelenskyy seemed opposed to a ceasefire and referred to Russian President Putin as, quote, a terrorist. The two were supposed to finalize the deal for the U.S. to have access to Ukraine's rare earth minerals. Earlier in the meeting, President Trump had said that the U.S. would still provide military support to Ukraine, but he hoped it would be less aid. Trump added it was best for the Ukraine to end the war, and that's when things got heated, and Vice President Vance was even involved.
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring it into this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine? Did you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
So after that heated exchange, you can see Zelenskyy leaving the White House after that incident, and the signing of the mineral deal was abruptly called off, as was a joint press conference. That deal was supposed to be signed by Zelenskyy, and the White House is saying the Ukrainian delegation was told to leave. And just moments ago, Zelenskyy posting on X thanking America and even thanking President Trump. He added that Ukraine needs just lasting peace. And we'll have much more on this developing story, Duarte, on the 5 o'clock news. And, of course, you can watch the entire Oval Office exchange on our website, fox5ny.com, or Fox Local on the app or the YouTube channel. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Thanks so much, Sharon. What a story. Breaking news. The White House says President Donald Trump is expected to sign and execute an order today that designates English as the official language of the United States of America. Now, this order is going to allow government agencies and organizations that get federal funding to choose whether to continue offering documents and services in languages other than English. Now, this executive order effectively rescinds a Clinton-era mandate that required governments and organizations that get federal funding provide language assistance to non-English speakers. And we have more breaking news from Rome. Pope Francis suffered what's being called a bronchial spasm. This caused His Holiness to ingest vomit. The Vatican says the spasm required non-invasive mechanical ventilation. And the Vatican is saying that the 88-year-old pontiff responded well with what they're saying was a good level of gas exchange and remained awake throughout the entire time. Now, this development, it really is a setback in the Pope's health amid so many reports that were fairly upbeat about his progress so far. And more developing news, phase 1 of the ceasefire in Gaza ends shortly. However, Israeli officials say that they're willing to extend this temporary truce so more hostages and prisoner exchanges can take place. Negotiators are currently working on the details of the second phase of the ceasefire. They're hoping to end the war in Gaza and bring the remaining hostages home. Israel is claiming about half of the 59 hostages still in Gaza are actually dead. And developing news out of New Mexico, authorities there are now saying Gene Hackman and his wife apparently had been dead for days and potentially a couple of weeks by the time their bodies were discovered on Wednesday. Officials are awaiting the results of an autopsy and carbon monoxide test. Now, according to the latest court documents, authorities searched Hackman's Santa Fe home and found medication to treat high blood pressure and chest pain, along with thyroid medication, Tylenol, and 2 cell phones. Police still there. They say that there was no indication of foul play and no gas leaks were discovered in and around the couple's home. 2 window washers were rescued this morning from dangling equipment on the 78th floor of a building in Columbus Circle. Just look at this video. Now, in the footage from Citizens app, you can see the basket swinging back and forth, banging into the glass at 25 Columbus Circle. Fire officials said they got the call around 9:47, and when they arrived, they saw the building's glass had been shattered and it was raining down on the streets below. Obviously, they quickly shut down the street to cars and anyone walking by. Now, both the people who were working there, thankfully, they were safely rescued and brought to the hospital in stable condition. But fire officials said the window washers, well, they weren't secured to safety lines and they weren't tied off at all.
Once we got up there, as soon as we opened the apartment, the door to the elevator rather, I could feel like a gust of air. I knew that the window had been taken at that point. Came into the room and they were swinging back and forth, and the scaffolding was twisting. Tied life safety lines onto the 2 occupants of the scaffolding, and as soon as they were all secured, members of Rescue 1 started going through their evolution and getting them closer, the occupants in the scaffolding, closer to the building.
And they weren't the only people at risk. Fire officials say there were folks inside of that apartment unit when all this went down. And the NYPD wants to start a quality of life division. It'll be aimed at tracking complaints of, everyday New Yorkers. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Chiss, well, she was on Good Day New York today, and she said the division is going to attack the sense of chaos and disorder that certain neighborhoods have to deal with in our city.
When you go after underlying quality of life issues, it's really to make people feel safe in their communities. No one wants to walk out of their home or their apartment and see a homeless encampment. And so the police have to be responsive to those types of issues to raise the quality of life in New York City.
So you're probably asking, what are some of the things that this quality of life division is going to look at? Well, there'll be abandoned vehicles or out of control e-bikes, e-scooters, and dirt bikes, things like that make a difference. And Metro North Railroad is making history. The MTA board members have approved the purchase of some of the first battery-powered trains in the country. Fox 5's Richard Giancovis has the details and what this means for all of us who commute into Penn Station.
The 358 Metro North train to Stamford pulled into the Harrison station Thursday afternoon from Grand Central, like most trains on this line.
I'm jumping all around the city.
But for commuters like Camila de los Santos, who owns a tailoring business that requires her to be in different parts of Manhattan, a commuter train from Penn Station to Westchester in Connecticut would be life-changing.
Well, it's just a different side of the city. You don't have to directly transfer from the Metro North to the subway. So it's just an easier transition for most people.
Camila may have to wait another few years, but the MTA board has approved the purchase of 13 battery-powered passenger locomotives along the New Haven line, some of the first trains of its kind in the country.
The New Haven line customers who want to go to the west side of Manhattan or lower Manhattan, as you say, that's going to be a really good option for them. But the other exciting part of the project is the construction of stations in the Bronx that are not currently served by commuter rail.
Yes, the MTA says 4 new stations will be built in the Bronx, including Parkchester, Van Ness, and Co-op City. The current trains that run on electrical power aren't configured to serve Penn Station, but with battery-powered trains and those new stations set to be built, a faster, more efficient commute for some is near.
It's also a cleaner and greener alternative for the communities that are going to be served by the new service.
So it would be really beneficial to have both.
The new trains will draw electrical power from the overhead wires, much like these locomotives, but once they get in and around Penn Station, they'll switch over to battery mode. The cost, according to MTA documents, for those 13 trains, about $305 million, with an expected 18-month rollout beginning in January of 2029. We're in Harrison. Richard Giacobas, Fox 5 News.
Good stuff. And let's bring in Liv Johnson for a look at a forecast. Liv?
Duarte, it's been a pretty nice day out there. I mean, very sunny. We do have some clouds rolling through from a system that's passing us to the north. So you see it went over the Great Lakes. Now it's crossing into New York State. But here in the city, Long Island, New Jersey, we don't have to worry about any precipitation or anything from that system. Just a little bit more cloud cover that's going to come through, but still a mostly sunny weekend. Current temperature is 50 degrees in New York City. We have 51 out on Long Island. Same thing down the shore in New Jersey. Meanwhile, we're stuck in the mid-40s for Hartford and Poughkeepsie, but still above average. Usually we just get to a high of about 45 this time of year. Winds have picked up. You've definitely felt the difference between now and 24 hours ago, between about 10 to 25 miles an hour, and then gusting even stronger between about 25, 35 miles an hour. It is going to remain breezy through the evening, and tomorrow those winds are going to pick up even more, but still about in the same range of 25 to 35 miles an hour. Like I said, we'll have some more clouds roll through. We don't have to worry about moisture. There is a slight risk of Poughkeepsie, Monticello seeing a raindrop or two, maybe a flurry, but it still looks pretty minimal. And then we're going to have mostly sunny skies for Saturday and Sunday. Tomorrow remains mild. We'll stay in the mid-50s, but then Sunday and Monday, we kind of have to revisit winter for highs in the 30s before warming up again midweek.
Mid-50s, I might have to barbecue. Thanks, Liv. And that's your news block for now. I'm Duarte Geraldino. Thanks for joining us. Tune in to the 5 o'clock news on Fox 5 right here on Fox Local for all the day's news as it develops. Have a great weekend.